So first of all, and before we dive into the let's say heart of today's discussions, I want to thank Prospero Events Group for the invitation and for organizing this interesting event dedicated to SMRs, which indeed represent not just a technological advancement, but a beacon of hope, let's say, for a world grappling with the urgent need for decarbonization and for clean and reliable energy sources. So I'll briefly introduce myself. I'm Nacef Romdhani. I'm joining you from Paris. I've been working at System France as an SMR system engineer for the past year. Before that, I worked on the UK HPC or Hinkley Point C EPR project as a fluid system engineer, and also held the responsibility of writing and overseeing the what we call the NOG activity or the normal operation guidelines for the HPC project before assisting as systems teams in various SMR or AMR modular reactors projects, mainly in France. So without further ado, my today's presentation is entitled SMR's Market Dynamics Towards an Enabling Environment in the Nuclear Industry Landscape. So before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to outline the objectives of my presentation. So our first goal here is to empower ourselves with the knowledge necessary for making well-informed decisions in the dynamic landscape of SMRs, because in my opinion, in a field marked with a constant change and complexities, being informed is actually key to making strategic choices. Next, we'll dive into understanding both current and future market trends, equipping us or getting us ready to navigate the challenges ahead with confidence. So the main goal here is that by staying ahead of industry shifts, we can develop strategies, proactive strategies to address emerging challenges. Okay, moving forward, our third goal is to grasp the essential steps needed to transition towards creating or establishing an enabling environment for the safe and if it's secure and efficient deployment of SMRs worldwide. So establishing such an environment is actually critical for fostering growth and innovation in the SMR sector. And lastly, we'll explore some strategic insights into the international licensing landscape and its implications for your organization or initiatives. So achieving or attaining clarity in legal and regulatory matters is key or pivotal for overcoming hurdles or obstacles and driving progress within the SMR industry. Okay, now I've outlined our objectives. This is the plan adopted for my presentation, which is structured to address its objectives systematically. So I'll begin by setting the context, discussing the current landscape of SMRs developed worldwide. Then we'll explore the challenges associated with scaling up SMRs and the strategies to navigate them. Following that, we'll delve into the business case for SMRs, emphasizing the importance of a clear value proposition. And afterward, we'll touch upon the need for a new international framework for SMR licensing. And finally, I shall wrap up with some concluding remarks before opening the floor for questions and answers. So the context. A bit of context, the potential market size for SMRs could ultimately encompass hundreds of modules and may engage wide range of industries, as you can see. So today, as you all know, there are around 100 SMR designs that are being developed worldwide and at different stages of construction, and of which there are different types of reactors. So these are mainly PWRs or BWRs, but there are also technologies that have risen out, if I can say, such as the MSRs, molten salt reactors, or HTGRs, etc. So here I put an excerpt from the latest IAEA SMR booklet released in September 2022. But since then, of course, there have been significant developments in the SMR landscape with new projects emerging and existing ones progressing. So as an example, in the picture at the top left here, we all heard about the ACP100 core module installation last August 2023, and more recently about the steel containment dome that has been installed at the ACP 100 site in November or December 2023. We've also witnessed the HERPM, so the Chinese high temperature reactor module, pebble bed module, entering commercial operation at the end of last year. Then we have the only, let's say, marine-based SMR today in operation, the academic Lomonosov floating power units equipped with the two KLT-40S modules that was connected actually to the grid in December 2019, if my memory is good, and started commercial operation a few months later in May or June 2020, if I'm not mistaken, within the Russian Federation. Okay, I guess that covers everything for this slide. So let's move to the next one. What about Europe? So you may agree, or rather disagree with me, but I believe that the EU has entered or joined the let's say SMR race relatively late. So here I've included some examples of SMR, AMR, or microreactors projects being developed in Europe, but of course this is not an exhaustive list. So these projects are at various stages of development and involve different technology types that I've tried to classify or categorize into the 6 systems selected by the Generation 4 International Forum, as you can see here. So we have Thryson, IREA, Stellaria, and Copenhagen Atomics, which are MSRs, multi-salt reactor types. We have Exana and Nucleo, which are sodium-cooled and lead-cooled fast reactors, respectively. We have also Jimmy, which is HTGR, high temperature gas cooled reactor that aims to provide industrial process heat. We have NEWARD SMR, which is a PWR. We have Blue Capsule and other model reactors projects that I won't be able to mention here since we are limited in time. Okay, so now that we've had some context and discussed some examples, let's dive into the challenges associated with their large-scale deployment. Okay, great. Indeed, here large-scale deployment of SMRs faces several technical, economic, regulatory, and supply chain challenges, and will need considerable governmental efforts and efficient collaborative frameworks to be realized in the next decade. So we're going to further analyze each of these challenges right away. So the first important challenge we face, in my opinion, is the technology choice challenge, and more generally the need for global markets, because large scale and globally, let's say, expensive markets are crucial for the success of SMR projects, and the uncertainty in technology choice may hinder or block or slow down the development of such markets. So as I mentioned here, the lack of clarity regarding the selection of specific SMR concepts creates kind of uncertainty about the future prospects for all SMR designs. But undoubtedly, there would be an impact on investment, because technology selection decisions significantly impact or affect the potential for investments in large-scale factory fabrication facilities. Next, we have the market share dominance challenge. So the existence of several competing, let's say, SMR designs poses a challenge, as it is anticipated that no single design or vendor will be able to capture a significant market share under these conditions or circumstances. And the final challenge related to technology choice is the safety, security, safeguards demonstration for SMRs, as I put here. So the aspect of safety demonstration for SMRs to tackle the specific challenges posed by the innovative technologies incorporated into their design. So challenges include for example, limited knowledge about specific phenomena and operational experience, as well as constraints in applying traditional safety design and assessment approaches. Then we have security aspects. So security arrangements face distinct challenges regarding SMRs, like the questions related to transportability of SMRs and mainly microreactors, etc. So Lastly, in terms of safeguards, it's essential to have in mind to consider that the current methods may not be entirely adequate. So this is particularly true when we address challenges such as the transportability of SMRs, as I mentioned earlier, accessibility to remote sites, fuel cycle challenges, higher level of enrichment characteristics of SMRs actually. So now we'll move to the second critical challenge, in my opinion, which is the legal and regulatory frameworks. So these safety and security requirements of SMRs that I've been mentioning, and generally the technical requirements or specifications, are taken into account or addressed through regulations. However, the legal or legislation here is the one who establishes the general framework. So the first challenge here is adherence and implementation of international legal instruments. So this is actually important for countries deploying SMRs, and more generally for countries that are engaged in activities involving nuclear energy. So regarding contractual obligations, liability, intellectual property, etc., in fact, many countries adopt, let's say, a comprehensive approach to nuclear law. I mean, considering various aspects and elements encompassing safety, security, safeguards, liability within one single legislative framework. So the next one is the definition of technical requirements and controlling facilities and activities and compliance with regulation standards, guidelines, etc. So this is the job of regulatory bodies. Here in France, it's the ISN, or in French, Autorité de Sûreté Nucléaire. In the USA, it's the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. In the UK, it's the job of ONR, Office for Nuclear Regulation, etc. So these regulators and so many others are endowed with legal authority, independence, and resources to fulfill their obligations for controlling, inspecting facilities and activities. Okay, appropriateness and proportionality in SMR's regulations. So this involves the need for a kind of regulatory measures to be tailored or suitable and fit the specific characteristics and risks associated with SMRs. But to make it simple, I'd say that the regulatory framework should be proportionate to the level of risk posed by SMRs. That's the main idea here. And the last challenge is related to harmonizing licensing frameworks. So in international cooperation between SMR technology vendors and regulatory bodies is essential, is key, because harmonization efforts can streamline, let's say, the global deployment of SMRs. So we'll dive deeper into this challenge in a couple of minutes. So challenges to large-scale deployment of SMRs. So large-scale deployment of SMRs faces supply chain challenges. So it's clear that, let's say, stronger or robust and resilient supply chains capable of supplying high-quality equipment are essential, not only in vendor countries, but also locally where SMRs or AMRs are constructed and operated. So competitive factors such as the benefits of modularization, standardization are important. Commercial off-the-shelf, we call it here in France, solution sur étagère, or cost solution for SMR designs can also bring benefits to the supply chain by leveraging proven and readily available technologies. Next point, we have supply chain optimization and consolidation. So the lessons learned from constructing and operating these SMRs will contribute to refining and optimizing their supply chain and to manage costs effectively. 5, we have risk sharing in strategic partnerships. So establishing or creating strategic partnerships for key components like the RPV or reactor pressure vessel, if we need one, or for the fuel supplies, is crucial to share the risks associated with the initial SMR projects. So as you might expect, there are fuel cycle challenges. So indeed, we have the right forms of spent fuel and radioactive waste. So since SMRs encompass a wide range of concepts and designs leading to varied forms of spent fuel and radioactive waste. Adaptations for fuel cycles. So SMRs may require adjustments, adaptations, or new developments in the fuel cycle, such as proposals to use the HALOI or the high SA low enriched uranium up to 20% enrichment level in designs, which requires assessment of its impact finally on the global nuclear fuel supply chain. Of course, collaboration in R&D is more than needed. So despite the essential requirements for HALOI fuel, the effective usage or utilization of various SMR fuel types relies on the advancement of fuel production technologies. So progressing from the R&D phase to the industrialization phase is quite critical. So next, to ensure the sustainability of SMRs, it's key, it's imperative to strategically plan for the safe and secure handling of spent fuel, waste, decommissioning well in advance of deployment. So early planning for these aspects will establish appropriate infrastructure, thereby reducing complexities and especially costs associated with waste management. So finally, let's move on to social acceptance. So the inherent safety features characteristic of SMRs, while presenting an opportunity, may also pose some challenges actually in terms of public perception, let's say. So communicating these features effectively to address public concerns is actually very, very important. Then community preferences on siting. So the successful siting of SMR plants requires careful consideration of the preferences of host communities. So understanding and addressing local concerns are extremely important for gaining social acceptance. Next challenge is related to unique public engagement. Actually, this is much related to the first one, but the idea here is that SMRs should, how to say it, due to their smaller size and potentially different operational characteristics, are likely to face a different set of challenges or uncertainties related to public engagement compared to large traditional nuclear power plants. So these challenges could include issues related to safety, environmental impacts, maybe waste management, or simply, let me say, unfamiliarity with the technology. So recognizing and addressing these unique challenges is crucial for social acceptance. Okay, so having examined the challenges associated with large-scale deployment of SMRs, let's now shift to another critical aspect, which is the SMR's business case and how to establish a clear value proposition. And maybe I need to accelerate a little bit. So to start with, while proven SMR technology is essential, it is not the only factor necessary for success, as I put here. So that's where developing a robust business case comes at first place. So the development of a robust business case is crucial for both vendors and end users to ensure viability. So for the vendor or project developers, the business case demonstrates the readiness of SMRs for deployment and their ability to meet the needs of the end user. For the end user, the business case assesses if the benefits of SMRs are worth the effort needed to create or establish the necessary enabling environment for their successful deployment. For project developer, demonstrating the business case usually starts with market research and an analysis of the competitive landscape. So the development of the SMR value proposition and strategic positioning involves market and competitor research. Then based on this assessment, a value proposition is developed to meet the needs and expectations of targeted customer segments. So these segments include electricity generation, district heating, desalination, and other applications. So evaluation of the size of each market segment is very important. And finally, the SMR business model is built often around two pillars. So the cost structure on the one hand and the revenue streams on the other hand. So the idea I want to convey actually is While large-scale nuclear power plants excel in economies of scale, they incur high capital costs. So with SMRs, despite losing the scale advantages, they compensate with the benefits for NOC plants. Okay, so we'll dive into the analysis of cost structure associated with SMRs. So this encompasses expenditures linked to electricity, heat, and services provision within the power system. So capital costs, which are typically the primary driver affecting LCOE in nuclear ventures, may be mitigated for SMRs due to efficiencies gained through replication or standardization, modularization, and factory-based inspection, testing, etc. So this is extremely important. Regarding fuel cycle costs, anticipated SMR fuel expenses are expected to align with those of large-scale, let's say, gigawatt reactors, except, of course, for designs utilizing enriched fuel, such as the Halloy variants that I mentioned earlier, which could face market availability challenges. So here, the cost structure of SMRs will depend on the type of technology employed and how they will be operated. So finally, staffing requirements. So the primary factor driving operational and maintenance costs in SMRs is the expenses related to personnel, both direct and indirect. That's why vendors and regulators are assessing the staffing needs for control rooms in both single and multi-module SMR facilities. Okay, I think it's crucial to keep in mind that the energy market extends beyond electricity generation alone, and SMRs, as you know, will have a pivotal role to play in various sectors beyond electricity. So depending on the product they are supplying, SMRs face different competitive landscapes. For example, for providing here low carbon heat or hydrogen production, SMRs compete against fossil fuels or biomass with carbon capture and storage, or renewables depending on the product. SMR designs and sizes are suitable for non-electrical applications near demand centers, such as providing heat for buildings, industrial processes, seawater desalination. What else? Hydrogen production. Some SMR designs address niche markets, potentially replacing diesel generators in small islands or remote regions. Okay, great. So now shifting our focus, what are the competitive factors crucial for SMRs, and particularly the key features that are necessary to enable serial production? So you certainly doubt that the most challenging letter in SMR acronym is the letter M. So the word modular, which is extremely important. So the modular construction approach, and that's all the difference, let's say, compared to the construction of large nuclear power plants. And in my opinion, that's where we must carry the effort, and it is an issue and an extremely important challenge, actually, because it requires a very thorough reflection on the manufacturing method of the SMR, so that they are pre-manufactured as much as possible, for example, in the factory, and assembled on site in the most, let me say, standardized way possible. So in other words, if in my opinion, if we don't manage to do it modular, we will not win the economic equation. Next, we have operations economy through innovation and automation. So this refers to the efficiency and cost savings measures achieved by implementing innovative technologies and automation processes in the operation aspects of serial production. So this includes increasing productivity through the integration of advanced technologies such as robotics, AI, artificial intelligence, digitalization, data analytics, etc. So it's really important matter today. Potential for code generation to enhance efficiency. Indeed, this feature allows SMRs to utilize the heat produced during electricity generation for various industrial processes or heating applications. And another feature, of course, is the flexibility to evolving power grids. I'm not going to repeat what I've already said about modularity benefits, but simply to say that modularity and cost savings are key to the future of SMRs. So with modularity, standardization, and serial fabrication techniques, SMRs could reduce labor costs and project timelines, actually. Okay, I'll go to next slide. So let's now examine the factors that shape the value proposition of SMR. So the full and comprehensive value proposition of an SMR project will depend, of course, on identifying the costs and revenue streams, as I explained a couple of minutes ago. So then the implementation of specific market mechanisms may be necessary to ensure investor confidence and attract investment in nuclear projects that require important and substantial capital investment. For generation costs and ensure satisfactory returns for investors. And of course, recognition of SMR activities as clean and sustainable through taxonomy and product labeling can help promote their deployment, actually. So both clear economic and environmental advantages of SMRs contribute to gain confidence in this technology and therefore establishing a clear and compelling value proposition, as I mentioned here. Okay, so to ensure the confident integration of SMRs into the energy mix with public acceptance, it's important to create what I've been repeating so far, an enabling environment. So this slide is simply to say that establishing an enabling environment is a collective effort that involves governments, technology developers and recipients, operations and regulators, and public confidence. Okay, given limited time, I'll be brief on this slide. So in this diagram, I tried to make a kind of synthesis of all the factors involved in creating an enabling environment. So as we saw together, a global market financial support is very important and should be tailored to this type of SMR projects. And of course, we've already discussed the essential role of harmonization, and I emphasize this because global harmonization and standardization efforts are essential for creating an enabling environment that fosters the adoption or deployment of SMRs on a global scale, and that will ultimately accelerate the maturation of SMR technology. Okay, so in this last part of my presentation, I will show how some of the harmonization efforts, such as the IAEA Nuclear Harmonization and Standardization Initiative, or NESI, are also foreseen to improve the enabling environment for SMRs. So briefly, what is NESI? NESI is an international framework for licensing in the nuclear industry. So it is an IAEA initiative that operates on two separate but complementary tracks for technology holders, operators, and regulators. On the one hand, we have NESI regulatory track, which main goal is to establish common harmonized regulatory approaches between different national regulatory bodies that would facilitate the safe deployment of advanced nuclear reactors like the SMR technologies. And then we have the NESI industry track, which rather turns to the industry and aims to establish standardized industrial approaches or practices for SMR manufacturing, construction, and operation. So the ultimate goal is to decrease licensing durations and expenses, and ultimately accelerate the SMR deployment finally. So that's what I've been explaining the previous slide. Okay, so another good demonstration of collaboration at the harmonization level is the International Regulators Association, which is an association of nuclear regulatory bodies of 9 countries here, which are Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Spain, South Korea, Sweden, United States, and United Kingdom. So the main purpose of this association is to facilitate collaborative efforts among nuclear regulators globally. So this includes ensuring timely and proportionate regulatory evaluations, enhancing regulatory efficiency through the use of standard designs, supporting initiatives like the IAEA, NESI that we've seen in the previous slides, and some other goals that you can see here. And finally, we have the European SMR pre-partnerships, which was launched after a first workshop on SMRs organized by the European Commission in 2021. And the main goal is to identify enabling conditions towards the safe deployment of SMRs in Europe in the next decade and beyond, in compliance, of course, with the EU legislative framework. So it aims to foster collaboration among regulators interested in conducting a collective safety pre-assessment for mature designs. The partnership also seeks to identify potential hurdles in safety requirements for licensing processes at an early stage, which with the objective or goal of achieving convergence in regulatory arrangements. And more recently, we all heard about the European Industrial Alliance on SMRs that I put here, and that was created to reinforce actually the nuclear supply chain within Europe and to facilitate and accelerate the deployment of SMRs in Europe by the early 30s. Okay. Oof. So with that, we finally come to the end of my presentation. I'll only conclude with some remarks. So today we have, if you recall my first slide, we have over 90 SMR designs that are currently in development. Majority of them are in the early design phase. So there is still a long way to go before SMRs can come to fruition. So I believe everyone here would agree to say that SMRs offer an incredible promise, but unfortunately they come with economic milestones to pass. And in my opinion, that's where we need to focus our efforts. So on one hand, we have a set of competitive factors here that underscore the potential benefits of SMRs. So these include factors such as the potential for lower LCOE through large-scale serial production, the efficiency gains and cost savings enabled by modularization in construction and their versatility for non-electric applications. Additionally, SMRs offer flexibility in adapting to evolving power grids, making them well suited for integration into our future energy systems. However, on the other hand, we cannot overlook these significant challenges and milestones that stand in the way of SMR deployment. So these include the necessity of establishing a resilient and robust business case to attract investment and ensure economic viability, navigating complex legal and regulatory frameworks, addressing fuel supply challenges, and identifying the costs and revenue streams associated with SMR projects. Moreover, the establishment of an enabling environment that fosters innovation and supports the deployment of SMRs is fundamental for their success. So in my opinion, it is crucial that we focus our efforts on addressing and prioritizing these challenges. And by doing so, we can unlock the full potential, let's say, of SMRs and pave the way for a sustainable, secure, and efficient energy future. Thank you.
Nacef, thank you very much for presentation.
Welcome. I don't know if you have questions.
So let's see the audience. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Nacef? Anything?
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
Good, excellent presentation. Thank you very much for sharing that. I just wanted to hear briefly your views on the potential for assignment of value to decarbonization of SMRs in Europe. Is there possibility of that? And if you want to comment, obviously, on what impact that might have on the business case?
Yeah, that's a quite good question indeed. So here in France and in Europe in general, actually, the value proposition associated with the environmental impacts is quite critical, actually. So here we have the regulatory body that's called ISN, and in Belgium or in Finland that actually stand on a regular basis, and some remarks and comments to emphasize to urge us actually to take into account those requirements that are related to respecting some environmental impacts, some waste environmental that are challenging actually in any SMR project that you would find here in Europe. So the challenge or the issue here is that we have a feedback experience or an operating experience from large nuclear reactor projects that are actually quite important. But the problem here is that when we want to like extrapolate or take those requirements related to the environmental impacts and try to make them applicable to our SMR projects, that's actually very challenging. So here we only emphasize in our day on a daily basis, we only like try to focus on what we receive as a requirement from the regulatory body, but actually it's something that we discuss on a daily basis and we try to resolve like every day.
Let me clarify my question. Thank you. My question is, a utility or a power user every day may get to choose between, let's say, a gas-fired power plant,
yes,
or an SMR. Do you see an environment in Europe where governments will assign a carbon tax, as we would call it, to the non-SMR choice?
Okay.
To balance the value proposition?
Now I see very clearly. Thank you. So actually, it's the case. It's the case here in Europe, not in all countries in Europe, to be honest, but here in France, in some regions of West Europe, actually, there is such taxes that are applied to some non-nuclear producers or users, but it's not the general. It's not the general actually landscape that we see here, because in general, like big firms, I do not want to name some, but they have actually some competitive like prices for selling their kilowatt or megawatt hour of electricity. But here in France, government, to be honest, they insist on this factor, and they urge companies and they tax them to like reduce or to effectively add some concrete measures to be able to like reduce their carbon emissions, or to make concrete measures in order to be respectful for environmental requirements.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the audience? All right, no. So once again, thank you very much, Nacef, for your presentation.